remember that this is not only a public lecture, it's also a book presentation in commemoration of the 50th birthday of Mr. Adeniran Adedokun. The book, of course, is The Law is an Ass. And we'll be talking about the book very, very shortly. I'm going to be introducing the book reviewer, Mr. Olayiwola Adeniji, who is my former boss many years ago at This Day newspaper, where he was my editor of the Arts and Review desk. He's now enjoying life over in Chevron, but and he is our book reviewer for this afternoon. I'm just going to do a quick introduction of Mr. Adeniji, and then we'll hand over the house to him. And for just a few minutes, he's going to be reviewing the book, The Law is an Ass, a collection of short stories by Niran Adedokun. Now, Mr. Lai Adeniji is a journalist, or well, was a journalist, is a communications specialist, a man of many parts, a man who's a lover of the arts. And his background, obviously, is in English language. He used to be an English teacher from way back, and then he moved on to the Guardian newspaper, from where he then moved on to the Comment newspaper, where he was an editor of the Arts and Entertainment desk. And then from there, before that, he was at the Guardian. And then from there, he moved on to This Day newspaper, where he was my boss. And he was the editor also of the Arts and Review desk. That's what it was called at the time. I don't know what it's called now. And from there, he's had a long, over a decade stint over at Chevron International. So it was at Chevron Nigeria Limited initially, but is now, I think, at Chevron Global. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir. So I will be handing over to Mr. Olayiwola Stephen Adeniji, who's going to be doing the book review for about 10 minutes. Good afternoon, sir. It's good to see you after more than 20 years.
Yeah, nice to see you, Yomi. Thank you very much. And congratulations, Niran, on this, what I describe a milestone celebration. And I hope you can hear me. All right.
Yes,
so
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Thanks, Yomi. Permit me to start by just congratulating our celebrant today. Again, just as I said, not just because he's hit the milestone year of 50, in a country where life has become such a very cheap commodity. What is significant for me is the manner in which he has decided to mark the day, a conversation to address some of the issues that confront us as a nation, and also the public presentation of this collection of short stories, aptly titled The Law is an Ass. For those of us who know Niran, and I dare say I do, this does not come as a surprise. He takes Nigeria too seriously. Apologies to Audio Favor. My task is simple: to interrogate this collection of 9 short stories and either convince you to buy it or use your hard-earned money for something more profitable. By inclination, though, the former will be my preference. After all, as Yomi said, I've spent a good part of my adult life canvassing the positions that a writer or an artist should be able to live off his craft. I hope by the end of this exercise, I will have whetted your appetite enough to buy the book, not just for yourselves, but also your friends. Let me make a confession, though. I admire authors of short stories because of the discipline required to make the stories concise and compelling in not too many words. I also love reading short stories because they have a way of imparting knowledge in a structured and predictable way. But I struggle to review short stories because you have to deal with varied themes and styles in the structured narrative, therefore suffering as much pain as the author, yet the reviewer or the critic only gets a footnote mention in the life of the book. But then, all of this is my own pain. Niran called, and I had to answer. As stated earlier, this collection deals with varied themes, from the mundane to the serious, hope to deferred expectations, love and hate, and other conflicts and absurdities in our society. In each of the stories, the reader finds someone to cheer on or someone to hate, as the author navigates the labyrinth of life and living in urban Nigeria. Though an easy-to-read collection, the stories are thought-provoking and engrossing. In his own unique way, Niran is able to hold the interest of the reader in terms of craft. Some of the stories are more accomplished than the others. This should be expected. No two works can be adjudged to be of same quality or standard. In Dubai with Love, which started the collection, it's like the proverbial grass to grace story, as everything points to the protagonist overcoming the pains of an indigent childhood to become a successful and happily married man. Recently, I read a review of Michael Projard's review of Keeping an Eye Open, Essays on Art by Julian Barnes and Michael Craig Martins on being an artist in a 2015 edition of the UK edition of New Statesman. His preoccupation was on how art really floats free of biography or autobiography for that matter. And this age-long contention in literary theory and criticism comes to mind when reading The Law is an Ass, which is the title story of this collection. Being a legal practitioner, and I dare say in his spare time, the contention here is between the radical school of thought and the liberal school of thought in legal practice in Nigeria. How much of this reflects where the author stands on the divide? The more I read this story, the more I asked questions. In terms of craft, the most accomplished of the collection is Once Upon a Night. In this story, the author deploys the use of flashbacks, revelry, and suspense to a hilt. It is one story with the "oh my God" reaction. This has all the ingredients of a good story in terms of characterization, setting, plot, conflict, and resolution, to keep the story and action to develop in a logical way that the reader can follow. Without a doubt, Niran Adedokun's The Law is an Ass makes an interesting reading, with stories that capture the imagination of the reader. The stories provide for us a mirror, which highlights and interrogates our tensions, fears, and aspirations as a people. Though not overtly prescriptive, he has, through the characters and plots in these stories, provided a beacon light to guide us to find the right path. The composite influence of a dramatist, social commentator, journalist, and legal practitioner is most apparent in this collection. For the first time out as a fiction writer, Niran has demonstrated an appreciable mastery of his craft. Of course, there are opportunities for making the language a lot tighter. One area to look at in subsequent edition is in the handling of setting, which is a vital part of storytelling. A good setting helps to establish the mood, reveal characters and conflict, and provide clues to the thematic focus. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the taste of the pudding, they say, is in the eating. I'm sure you all find this book as interesting as I did. It comes highly recommended. Thank you very much for your attention.
I think at this point I should say, my editor, sir, thank you for that wonderful and very deep analysis of the book. This is the job that you trained me to do many years ago. So thank you for doing that.
And I'm an avid reader. I enjoyed the book. I got an advance delivery. I read it within 12 hours and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm also listening to the book review. I was literally jumping into some of the things he was raising because those were some of the ideas I had myself, and I thoroughly enjoyed the book. And at some point, I'm like, why did it have to end at this point? You could have said more because I want to hear more on this story. And in certain instances, I wonder where the connection is. For example, the last story of Adeza, which spoke to such an attachment, but I couldn't see how attached she was to the dad to elicit such a reaction, because there was a lot of time for 3 years, we didn't see her dad for 1 year, he wasn't really that present. So how do you come up with such an attachment that you want to take your life if he's gone, considering you didn't have that much connection on the story? So I loved the book review and I was really enthralled by that. So this is my first time of meeting you, but I'm so gung-ho on how you took us through the whole process, having read the book back to back. And I literally took it up and I didn't drop it. I dropped it to sleep, and the next morning I finished it. So this is a wonderful book, Niran. Congratulations and well done. I didn't know you could write fiction so well.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Niran, the birthday boy, congratulations to you. Congratulations to Daddy. Distinguished speakers, in review are my namesake. Thank you for a job well done. If I may just quickly make one or two comments. First of all, Niran, you have some explanation to make after we are through with this program. Because I've been wondering why you chose to title your new book, The Law is an Ass. And you asked me to come and do a presentation of a book where the law is being arranged as an idiot. And you asked me to participate at such an event as a colleague. I will have to ask you privately why you chose to do that. But I think it's a mark of our deep friendship that my friend, Dr. Moise Badere, my friend and brother, senior advocate of Nigeria, we are all actively with you on this occasion. My brother Moise, I want to thank you for your very frank manner of presentation. That's very typical and expected. I share your views in a number of places that you have discussed this afternoon. But let me just say something quickly about the benevolent dictator. I happen to have met Jerry Rawlings after he handed over to Lehman in Ghana. I met him at the University of Legon. He was hibernating with Sachusi Kata, who was secretary to the PNDC. And in our discussion, it was obvious that he had a lot of regrets and pain. May his soul rest in peace now. And part of his pain is that African leaders and politicians don't keep to agreements. They don't keep agreements. And that was part of the pain and regrets that he had with Lehman. And that's partly why you had his second coming, although eventually as a politician. So there is a lot to interrogate in that area. It's unfortunate in Africa, sometimes what you think appears to be a solution ends up as a problem. But like we have rightly identified, it's an issue that we'll continue to discuss, and I pray that somewhere down the line we'll find our bearing. You know, when the reviewer was reviewing the book, by the way, Adiza, I don't know if you are still around. Ajay Adiza, it's nice to see you this evening after a long time. Well done. You know, the story that makes up the short story about Yebisi in the tribe, you know, the lack of empathy in our part of the world as Yoruba people, you know, because you can see the concrete total lack of empathy. Somebody just died and people are struggling to steal the telephone, to steal the bag, to steal. And unfortunately, that is the state of our country today. I wonder why you call this a fictional work. A lot of the stories, thank you for giving me an advanced copy of it. A lot of the stories, they appear to be real, they appear to be true, and not really fictional. And when you talk about the devil's table, about prophets and bishops, you see Nigeria today, you see miracle money. And you see educated people talking about miracle money in Nigeria of 2021. I'm sorry for taking your time. I had a case in which I was in court with my client. My client, an educated person, got to the court ahead of me on a rainy day, and he did not enter the courtroom. He was standing somewhere around the court. So when I got to the court, I said, "What are you doing outside? You are supposed to be inside. You are the plaintiff." He said, "Yes." He was told that there is a drop of water in front of the courtroom, and I should not step into it. That's why he was waiting to tell me. I said, "You're out of your mind. They will dismiss your case." And he was just lucky by the whiskers. They would have dismissed his case that day because they had called his case just when I entered the court. So it shows the level of the state of mind in which we have found ourselves. And I hope this kind of dialogue, I believe, is an ongoing one. At the end of the day, Dr. Badere, I imagine the level of frustration that you have, but we cannot give up on our country. We'll get there. It's tough, but we will get there by the grace of God. So to the book, please send 20 copies to me. And as a publisher, I know what to do the needful. I'll be happy to have the 20 copies so that I can also send the copies to people that can also benefit. Because truly it's a story about our country. It's a story about where we are today. And I pray that we'll get over it in no distant future. We are here today, for instance, ordinarily in Nigeria, if you listen to Dr. Badere and you start to ask, is he a Christian? Is he a Muslim? What does he believe? What does he not believe? This is where we lose track. Whereas we should be examining the substance of what he has presented. But in Nigeria, the first thing people want to ask is that, where is he from? Is he a Christian? Is he a Muslim? Has he taken money from somebody? Has he been sponsored? Has he been asked to come and talk? You know, we engage in all this useless dialogue. I pray we get our bearing right. Thank you so very much. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Niran, congratulations to you on getting to the 5th floor. I have to also congratulate Daddy. It's not every day that you are alive to see your child attain the golden age. It's a special blessing, and I thank God for you. Niran, for a writer like you, you always leave me spellbound. You did the almost unforgivable, because I did not get the advanced copy of the book until this morning. And I couldn't really do justice to it because I have other things that engaged my time. But I managed to read one or two, and I'm on the same page with Mr. Lai Babatunde, the Lanier Silk, that I got captivated by the drive. We both of us seem to be on the same page. I got captivated by the drive out of the few stories I was able to read from the book. Because as a woman, you see a bit of yourself in the story. You see a woman who is trying to please the mother. You see parents who are tribalistic. My own as a mother is not about tribalism. I remember that my son, when he was going to the secondary school, I wanted him to be a doctor like his father and trying to choose a profession for him. Of course, he didn't want to be a doctor and he failed woefully. I still regret it because that cost him a number of years. Unfortunately, in Yemi's case, it was a life that was lost. Very tragic. You see a bit of yourself trying to please a man that is not even worthy of your time and your emotions. So many things there. I was almost crying. But the intellectual Nero, that he is, prolific writer, lost me totally by the ending of that story. It was the least expected ending. But I think that is what good story writers are made of. They don't want you to know they don't want to be predictable.